Hello and welcome as today's date comes in that of Sunday, the first day of December 2019, the final month of the decade. The next month we'll enter the 20s. And all bets, trades, all that type of stuff, it's each his own risk and their own reward. And there's been a lot of volatility, at least higher than before. But I'm expecting at some point soon that this is going to play out pretty interestingly. And where we stand, we had this failed breakdown that occurred back in here and a fast move higher, which ended up being a failed breakout as it was it topped very rapidly after the spot of this low, and then it was unable to hold, and then we had a break of the support. Not the greatest of lines, but when you did it, significant break has been now coming and resisting thus far within the 18 average of highs. A couple days ago, price action came up to this level and has now since started to pull back lower. And most likely it's going to look as if it's going to even pull back lower further when we shorten it out. But before we do that, let's take a look at this via that of the weekly term time frame. And as it plays out, it's going to come down to the range in here, 3,000 to 20,000. And we're at a spot where we're pretty much right in the middle-ish area. So whether it has a significant break lower or higher moving forward, it still has a lot more to go before you can say, okay, wait a second, we're failing this support retested level because we haven't even been there. Game over for Bitcoin, at least high probability. And then getting out above this level, we came somewhat close here to come to that level, but yeah, only somewhat close, but it hasn't went down all that much during this run so far. But breaking out above resistance, and that's about 20,000, game on at a very high probability. And game on, of course, another way of saying several X moves, breaking the eventual level of resistance or support. But the next key move as a break of this, either for where we stand in here, resistance, well, this trend line, if we're going to come up to it, breaking out above that, previous high, breaking out above that, previous high, breaking above that, game on. As it stands here, we got this trend line in here, breaking down below this support level. We got some levels in here, and 6,000, all this little spot, that could still be higher low bottoms. If any of these areas do fail, I'll be looking at 3,000, and if that fails, then it might be game over if this level does get retested and then fails thereafter that. But until then, it's just a wait and see, and then for myself, just keep on adjusting to the message of the market. And anyway, let's move on to shorter term time frames. Let's move on to the 8-hour. And we can see it from that failed breakout high in here. This is where I like to have stuff like a daily VWAP, which is a volume weighted average price. And I don't know how to set it up on here, but it'd be from this high, it'd be a moving average, and it would just be, question is, how close does this level come to any of that? Even just a basic running average is actually a cool thing. I don't know how you would get that done in here. A running average means since a particular point. So on here, it would be like on day number 5, it would be the 5-day average. The next day is a 6-day average, 7-day average, so on. So if there's been, say, well, in this case, whatever, like maybe it's been 120 periods from it, and it's another indicator you can use for such to say, hey, say, for example, you have an average looking like something like this. Whatever, something in this area here, then maybe it's an area you can say, okay, this is an area for resistance, and then if it can do anything like hold stay above in there, something like that, then that's another bullish indicator. There's just so many ways, of course, in technical analysis to give yourself edges, give yourself understanding of market conditions, so many different ways it can be done. And I think I presented a unique, different way compared to the traditional settings. After all, I pretty much discovered using the 18 highs and lows, and I've been using it ever since. And within it here, it had a situation where from really in here, it never did ever get above the highs. and continuously making lower lows. And now it got above the highs in here, spent a few periods having this little trend, but has since broken this support line and has been just cruising in there within the 18 average. However, the previous period was a pause and hold from this one, which is really weakening the prospects that this could be support. We are 7 hours 43 minutes in, so it's the start of a new period. Let's take a look at this on the single hour term time frame. And in note, we've had this key high and this key low, and we're pretty much right in the middle part. So any key move, you're looking to go up here. Any key move lower, next key level of support is down there. That is worth note. And from the last time it left this 18 average of highs, it had this hour, the 5 a.m. yesterday morning, it had a very interesting volatile period, and then it's been following through with lower highs and lower lows. It had the 18 correctionary trend here from this low to this high, supporting this level, or resisting rather, this level of previous support, not supporting this on the way down via this time frame. It did resist it on this period, and has since established this low and even this one in here. Another attempt, or its first attempt rather, to get above this 18 from the start of this move, and we're seeing the failure on it. This is looking like a failed breakout in here, and it's been making sense because, as I've been stating, usually these Fibonacci levels 6300 usually pierces extra, so I would think 6,000-ish ballpark area seems very, very highly likely to come into play. So it doesn't surprise me a setup like this is occurring within it. So we've gotten above it. We've had last hour come down towards the lows. It's had a little bit of a run in the first 1/3 of this period in here, but not too much, and I would be very shocked if this manages to get above the 18 average of highs, and would expect that it's probably going to proceed following a fast move lower. And that would be taking us again to those 2 point in here, next level of support. Then after that, next level of support. Then after that, we're talking the actual pretty much exact number. And then it usually pierces extra lower. And 6,000 to me seems as if, well, looking at it from a mathematical perspective, if you were like, okay, I want to put a buy order in. Let's compare putting a buy order in at 6,350 versus, say, 6,005. I like to go a little over the key numbers, like that's why I say 6,005. At 6,350, you would be getting in at a higher chance of getting the buy order fill compared to 6,000 and say 5, because, well, if 6,000 hits, well, 63 will. So if 61 hits, there it is there. That's the differential. Of course, if you do get in at the 6,000, then you get a bit better of a price, as the risk reward seems, okay, probability odds is if it does come here, then it probably will. So more times than not, maybe if you're looking to wait to buy at that cheaper prices. But it all depends on what you are trying to, like, why are you buying something? Why are you something? What's the story behind it? And in trading, a lot of people sometimes really can't answer that question. And to me, I find that as a mistake. Alrighty then, let's conclude this video with Bitcoin dominance, which is mainly just hanging around, I would suppose. We had this failed breakout in October, and now it's trying to say no, it's not a failed breakout, because even though it's not that much of a higher low down in here, it's pretty much a matching low, it still hasn't taken it out. It still is riding this rising 18 average. It's doing so on microscopic volatility. So altcoins, there's not much big volatile movements, and it's going to stay that way until it doesn't. And that should be obvious in saying. But as I stated earlier on, that things are either going to get at the break of 3,000 and 10,000 and 20,000. Well, any significant move to those numbers and then breaking those numbers should increase the size of these movements that we would see on the Bitcoin dominance. Thus, of course, higher percentile moves amongst all the coins. Thank you for tuning in, and have yourself a great day and upcoming week and month of December. Bye-bye.